Hi everyone, this is my run on Dimensions End Transcendence Tier 8 Reckoning stage, and I would have liked this to be a no boss turn run, but if you've tried this stage already, you realize that a no boss turn run is virtually impossible because the game doesn't actually allow you to kill the boss until the boss has actually taken 10 turns on phase 3 and used its orb attack. So this is in essence a 10 turn boss run instead. I was pretty overgeared coming into this stage because I have Terra and Laguna both with their BT plus and blue armor, and Terra herself has a 5/5 ultimate weapon. Rydia only has base high armor, but that's okay, her role is really there just as a support unit on this stage. I'll cover a little bit about the mechanics of this stage as I go through the video. There are 3 phases overall on this stage, and you trigger the next phase when you bring the boss down below 10% HP. Also, this party is pretty much a given because Terra is probably the best unit for the right gate, and Laguna is probably the best unit for the left gate, considering also that the gates require blue and green crystal respectively. And you can actually solo the right gate with Terra, and I duoed the left gate with both Laguna and Rydia, mainly because Rydia has a lot of value on this stage, given that you must give the bosses turns on phase 3, and Rydia's blink effectively neuters all attacks the bosses can do because she gives everyone perfect evasion. I'll post a link to my left and right gate run. If you're interested in it, you can check it out in the video description down below. Okay, so coming back to the fight, we are still sort of in the middle of phase 1. Phase 1 is sort of like the honeymoon phase of the fight because at the start in phase 1, as you can see, the boss doesn't actually have any Lufenia orb. So essentially the strategy here is just to burn down the boss below 10% HP as quickly as possible. If your party is fairly well built, you might as well just use your BT plus and BT mode here. And all I did is just do EX with Rydia, BT plus with Laguna, and then I go BT mode with Terra, and that actually is enough to complete phase 1. If you have Terra, this fight is alarmingly easy because she also really makes phase 2 extremely easy as well. If you have Terra in your party, you might as well just use her BT mode here, and you can just spam all her LD meteors on phase 2. Now assuming if you don't have Terra and you want to attempt this stage without her, my recommendation is to try and save BT and summon mode both for phase 2. And I'll talk a little bit more as we transition into that phase. So this is the end of phase 1. At the start of each phase, the boss will heal itself to full, which is 13 million HP. And at the start of phase 2, you'll notice that the boss immediately starts with an orb counter of 5. The Lufenia orb on this stage will only -1 when the boss takes a turn. Player actions will not affect the Lufenia orb count at all. The dangerous thing though is that the Lufenia orb attack on phase 2, which is the current phase here, is a lethal orb attack. And since the orb will take down -1 whenever the boss takes a turn, essentially this also means that for phase 2, you must bring the boss below 10% HP before the boss takes its 5th turn. On turn number 5 of the boss, the orb will reach a count of 0 and will trigger and will instantly kill all your party members. The only character that can bypass the lethal attack is Aiko with her Phoenix overhead, so that is also an option if you find it very difficult to kill off the boss before the orb takes down to 0. With Terra, it is pretty much a piece of cake here, like I said, because she can just spam LD into meteors, so the boss on phase 2 will never really get a turn. And right here, I actually really only needed to use 2 LDs with Terra to reach this far, and I decided to pop summon mode here as well. You don't really need summon mode for phase 3 unless again you're having a lot of difficulty damaging the boss. You can maybe consider saving your summon mode for there. But if you find it really hard to manage the orb count on phase 2, you can just burn your summon mode here. I don't really see a need to save summon mode for phase 3 because the boss needs to take minimum 10 turns on phase 3, and since the boss only has 13 million HP, this means that you really only need to do 1.3 million HP per boss turn. With 3 characters, that number is actually pretty simple to reach in the current meta. So I triggered phase 3 right on the final turn in summon mode, and similar to phase 2, once again the boss will heal itself to full HP, which is 13 million HP. You notice also that the boss now has an orb count of 10, and this is irrespective of what the orb count was when it was in phase 2. No matter what the count was, it will always start phase 3 with a count of 10. The orb behavior is otherwise the same, it will only -1 when the boss takes a turn. The difference this time though is that the orb attack when it reaches 0 count is no longer a lethal attack. Instead, on phase 3, the orb attack when it reaches 0 is the exact same as its recast attack, which is Bio Breath. I'll talk a little bit more about the Bio Breath recast attack later on when the boss uses that attack. Now the highlight for phase 3 that you really need to keep in mind is that you cannot kill the boss until the orb reaches a count of 0. The boss is virtually unkillable. Even if you deplete 13 million HP, it will hang on with 1 HP remaining, and the only way to deplete that last 1 HP is to remove the orb from the boss, which is essentially you need to allow the boss to take 10 turns, each turn -1 on the orb, and let the orb reach down to 0 to be able to finish off the fight. So the minimum number of boss actions in this fight is 10. Because of this, it is virtually pointless to use Terra's LD on phase 3, because each time you use LD, she gets a bunch of free turns, and this needlessly prolongs the fight because it then pushes the boss's turn further and further away. This is also the reason why I brought Rydia along. So the idea for phase 3 is just you try to push out as much damage during your player turns as much as possible, and it doesn't really take a lot because the boss really only has 13 million HP. But Rydia is there for her blink buff, because you do need to allow the boss to take 10 turns minimum, and you do need to somehow survive or tank 10 attacks in total. Rydia is there as a very good safety net because her LD gives everyone blink buff and 100% evasion, and every attack that the boss has on this stage is evadable. So with blink up, you are virtually unkillable, even for the orb attack and the recast attack on phase 3. So I've brought the boss down to 1 HP, so at this point essentially the fight is over. However, like I said, I'm just waiting for the orb to reach down to a count of 0. The only thing that you need to do at this point is to just keep an eye on the blink buff on everyone and have Rydia use her LD to refresh blink when you need to. On hindsight, it's probably faster if I just have everyone do brave attack during their turn. But anyway, all you have to do here is kill time and make everyone waste their turns until the boss orb count has reaches 0. Little bit about the recast attack. On phase 3, the boss can use Bio Breath when its recast bar is full. Bio Breath is essentially a simple AoE Brave and HP damage, and it is evadable, so this is where Rydia's blink comes in. It does give the boss a bluish aura, as you can see. The blue aura will allow the boss to steal your Brave and HP gains, Essentially, if you are to gain HP or Brave, the HP or Brave amount goes to the boss. So the only thing you need to keep in mind is, as the blue aura is up, you do not want to use any healing ability, and you should also try to avoid having HP regen in your party. The boss will steal your Brave gains, but that's really not much of an issue. You can just re-break the boss with the attacks that you have, and in any case you are still protected by Rydia's blink as well, so doesn't really matter even if the boss has enough Brave to one-shot you. Quick mention about the orb attack on phase 3. Like I mentioned briefly before, the orb attack is also exactly the same as the recast attack, so when the boss reaches down to orb count of 0, it will just use Bio Breath again. I guess the only thing you might want to take note and prepare for is that when the orb reaches 0, it is an instant attack, and that will happen of course when the boss has just taken a turn. So right here, as I'm coming to the final boss turn, this means that turn number 10 here is essentially a double action turn. The boss will do one attack, the orb will tick down to 0, and then the boss will immediately use Bio Breath. So you want everyone to at least have 2 turns of blink remaining. Essentially the easiest way is just to ensure Rydia has 1 more LB remaining and use that before the boss takes its final turn. Anyway, that's it for this fight. As always, I hope the video has been helpful, and if you enjoy the content, please leave a like, comment or subscribe. It really helps a lot. Till then, I'll see you guys in the next Laguna fight. Bye!